Hey, welcome back. It's Laura at Hyperstamper. I have a pretty special journal to show you today and a little explanation of how I made the cover. The cover is actually plain underneath this bird image here, but because it was called Master Skylark, I wanted to find an authentic vintage or antique piece with a skylark in it. So I have, let me show you this book here, which is vintage from the 1930s, and it is Birds of America, which I get a lot of my bird plates from. And I used, unfortunately, the back had the blue jay, which I didn't realize as I was cutting out the oval. So that's where that one came from. And then inside here, you'll see plates also from this wonderful vintage book here, Garden and Field Birds, Eggs and Nests, and a field guide to the birds. So lots of bird things in here, but lots of all kinds of things, and everything is authentic, antique, and vintage ephemera. These are little feathers I had in my garden. And then of course this plate here, and I have these wonderful vintage beads that I thought matched the cover with the navy blue and the browns perfectly. So let's take a little look inside here. Here are the original first pages of the book, Master Skylark. And hold on. Over here is the original first plate of the book. And then this is here telling us that it was 1897. It was the second publication of this book. So second edition. Isn't that fantastic? This here is a little receipt from 1953 from the White House Baking Company. And I love that on the back here, it says Saturday, February 14th. So Valentine's Day, they wrote that little receipt. I made a little pocket in here with some vintage crochet. And here's our first plate here from this wonderful book. Isn't that beautiful? There's the little egg in the nest from the bird. I think that's really special. And then over on this side pocket here, I just made another little children's book image here with ducks. And then up here is some antique paper. And this one's the children and their dad putting up a bird house. More paper on the back there for journaling. So lots of little hidden journaling spots here, which I think is just awesome. Just you know, I always put banknotes and vintage cards in my books so that people can use them for their own clusters. And just a wonderful page from the 1950s here. Women who are doing their ironing. Could you imagine that being your iron? Good Lord. Another wonderful little children's book page. This came from the 1800s here. A lovely little bird page. And on the back, I just made a little pocket and put a little journaling book inside with antique papers. There. And some more antique papers here. Just a little window pane pocket. And I made a nice little journaling tag back there with some vintage advertisements on it. One of the fantastic 1953 yearbook pages that I've been using over the past few weeks, and I'm loving them, and I'm getting lots of nice messages about those. This one here came from another bird book. It's actually from the English Wild Birds book. And that is also from, I think that was from the 70s, that one. So we've got a nice little journaling spot here and another one up here. And this is from the 1930s, and it came from a student's project on leaves. Look at how fun that is. I think it's wonderful. Drawing number 11. I've got a bunch of these because I got the whole book, school book, from that student. Just a nice little fun journaling tag I made here, some vintage flip chart paper from the 70s, a sewing page from the 50s, and some typing in workbooks here. And I put another little booklet here for journaling and put it in this little hidden pocket here that is tucked into this pocket. It's a pocket in a pocket. It's an inception pocket. Okay, trying to get that one apart. A little bit of glue there. Did some hand stamping on there. Here's a fantastic little postcard from the early 1900s, probably about 1920. And more antique paper. This is from a vintage, actually it's antique. This is from the early 1900s, antique gardening book, black and white. And that's from the 1920s, children's book, Mother Goose. And then we have some wonderful children's images here. Love the orange and browns on that one as well. And just a funny surprise. And I love how some student has painted or circled some of the words in there, probably teaching themselves a lesson. And another set of poems from the California Troubadour, a rhyme rose, via Crus. I don't know. I wish I had practiced that first. Look at this hilarious rainbow snowball cake. Love it. Don't know if I'd want to eat it, but love the picture. The things that count. The language of love. Lots of space to journal on those pages too. And here, this came from that teacher's book here, that lessons book. And I just love that it's this little apple tree. And I just ran some pretty fabric down here. And love this children's book page, The Rabbit and the Squirrel. And this came from a 1968 game, Funny Bones. And here is a plate. Another plate here from that book. And oh, isn't that beautiful? It's just so beautiful. I love it. Even if you're not a fan of birds, these plates are fantastic. And look at this wonderful double photo here. We've got this beautiful little girl on this side sitting on the rocks. And then over here is this woman who's reading. And I just think it's lovely. Her name is Lucia McTerr. And here's some vintage upholstery fabric down here. Some vintage botanicals on a page from a vintage book. Early 1900s woodworking book here. Practical wood carving. Look how beautiful that photograph is. This is a plate from an art book from a famous artist, Emily Carr, Indigenous artist. And this is from the 1921 Troubadour, Etude magazine here. And the advertisements are just fantastic from schools all over America, all over North America, actually. And tuck that into the pocket there, and I put that on a music sheet. I thought that was appropriate. This is just another wonderful children's book page with this bear. And that brings us to the end. So that's going on Etsy now. And I hope you love it as much as I loved making it. Hyperstamper.etsy.com. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you soon.